let's let's bring Cameron back in before we talk ourselves into permanent exile from the UK. Finland's, we talked about it just before, Finland's first game in the Euros is against Denmark. So, Nordic footy, Cameron, what can you tell us about Denmark? What can we expect? Are they any good, or are we going to start the competition with a win?
Are they any good is the question I imagine a lot of people are asking, because a lot of people look at the world rankings and they say that not worth anything and they don't really mean anything. And they look at it and they see Denmark in 10th and they go, how is that possible? They can't be in 10th. They're a small little country in the north of Europe that have no right to be there. But the truth is that Denmark are a frighteningly scary good team. And it may not be down to their individual players, it's more down to how well they work as a unit. So before all that, I'd like to preface it with Nordic football. This is the first time since Euro 2004 that two Nordic teams will play each other in the Euros. Last time it was Denmark versus Sweden, and when that happened, they both ended up finishing first and second in the group. So, and they beat Italy and Bulgaria to that. So if that's a precursor to anything, then you should be quite happy.
Hang on, didn't they draw the last game? Was it 2-2?
People don't talk about that.
That was the Biscotti game, wasn't it?
We don't talk about that. 5 points draw between 3 teams. But yes, they both went through on a definitely not dodgy result at the end of the tournament.
One of those, yeah, okay.
However, yeah, if history has anything to say about this game, it shouldn't be massively high scoring. I was looking before, and since 1917, the 20 times that this game has been played, there has only been one occasion where there has been a game with more than 3 goals. A lot of 1-0s, a lot of 2-1s, a lot of 2-1-2s in both ways. But yeah, there's only been one, which was a 3-2 loss back in 1982, I think it was. But this has very little bearing over what should be a great game, I think. You know, people look at it and say it's essentially an ex-winner of the competition versus a complete newbie, but it's certainly not how it should be perceived. But yeah, in my opinion, Denmark right now are undeniably one of the better teams in international football, which is unfortunate for you, by no doubt. But to deny that, I think, would be tactical suicide. And the mountain that any team, let alone Finland, will face when they play Denmark is going to be huge. Since September 2018, only one team in all competitions has managed to beat Denmark, and that was Belgium twice, who were also in your group. And in that time, they've won and drawn a lot of games in then, and obviously they beat England, which was one of the more eye-catching results. But yeah, the squad is, like I said before, it's scary, and less about the individuals and more about how they play as a unit. They play this sort of beautiful 4-3-3 formation that allows the players to sort of thrive in their positions equally. The midfield of Højbjerg and Delaney and any one of the many other combinations that have possible to them are all brilliant. And essentially, it's all down to their ability to transition from one position to another. Their ability to go from defense to attack in any split of a moment is quite phenomenal, I think. It's something that I don't think England have got down to a T at all. I think it's one of the reasons that a lot of countries look very slow and very boring when they play football, is because they don't know how to do that because their squad is not a unit. Denmark have it perfectly. They go from they'll be playing around the back, and all of a sudden they'll play a ball over the top or a through ball across the ground, and they're in behind you before you even realize what's happened. They don't, depending on the game and who they're playing, they won't hold on to the ball. They're not a team who are set up to hold possession. They're a team who, if they want to, they will counter-attack you. They will sit back, let you run at their, again, very strong defensive unit that they have at the back, and they will then break at speed. However, despite all the praise that I can put onto them, which is a lot, especially in recent times with all the players coming through, they are fallible in certain areas. In that, in this transitional state, which is amazingly good when it works, if a player can break this transition down, Denmark are often found in a point where they could be playing a 3-1-6 formation. They honestly, when they break, you will see 5 or 6 players on the defensive line of the opposition team, while back three will be sat on the halfway line. You have your midfielder in the middle, and that'll be it. So if someone can break down that, they panic a lot. And one of the reasons that they were battered 4-2 by Belgium only a few months ago was because of that. Belgium managed to get this high press going where it broke down this transitional play, which they are so good at, and it stopped them from being able to launch these counterattacks. And like I said, when they won the ball back during these transitions, they found themselves panicking because they were all over the place, because they're so attacking and they're so ready to move forward. They often lose, their wingers are gone up the pitch, they're at the corner flags already, and their midfielders, depending on who they are either the most attacking midfielders in the world or the most defensive. So they're either left with 5-0-5 or 3-1-6. Honestly, it's when it works, it's a beautiful thing to watch, I think, as a football point of view. Scary if you are the fan of an opposition team, but it can be broken down. And one of the other things that I was going to say, which has slightly been lessened by what you mentioned before, is their wings are weak. They have, because of the 4-3-3 formation, their wingers are are usually end up being their fullback, which means if you can get down the wings and you can dominate the sidelines of the pitch, you will create a lot more chances than you will if you try and go through the middle. So when I hear that your wingers are a bit lacking or you don't have much hope down the wings, and that's slightly worrying, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be impossible to break them down. I think it'll be a very, very hard game for Finland. There's no reason why they can't go in to try and get something from it, in my opinion, from what I've seen of them playing. But all in all, it's going to be a very tough game, potentially harder than Belgium, because Belgium as a squad are nowhere near as cohesive as the Denmark squad are, in my opinion. They don't have, that's the reason they fall at the final hurdle a lot of the time, is because their team is not as free-flowing as the Denmark side is. But yeah, all in all, it's going to be a very, very tough game. And I would say that you're in for a hard one. Hope for a draw, beg for a win, and hope it doesn't go too wrong.
Rich has got his hand up. He's got his virtual hand up. He's had his actual hand up. Rich.
I just wanted to point out something that Cameron said that I found quite amusing, because a couple of weeks ago I watched the FIFA 1986 movie because it's on YouTube, and talking about how this is a game between a former winner and a debutant, and it made me think of when Denmark played Uruguay in 1986, and the debutant beat the former winner 6-1. I'll quite happily take that. I'm not comparing the Finland squad to having the Michael Laudrup or Elkjær or Olsen or anyone like that, but I think Pukki's got a few goals in him. Most of the Finland team seem to have had some time playing in Denmark, so I think that will be quite. That will be quite familiar for them as well. So I'm looking forward to it. But it's I think it's our wing backs can attack. It's the defending is the thing they can't do.
Mark.
That's going to say the same thing. Is that we don't. Our strength, our weakness in our wide areas is generally defensively. But what do you think about Eriksen? Because I mean, if you look through that, when I look through that Danish team, I see a lot of guys that don't score a lot of goals. Like you've got Braithwaite is a fantastic footballer, but he struggles to get minutes in Barcelona. He doesn't get on the pitch, and then even for the national team, he doesn't actually chip in that often with a lot of goals. They are a great team that moves forward, but I'm sure the plan from Rive is sit Kamara and maybe Sparv on top of Eriksen and hope to sort of shut down that movement and transition. Is that a decent plan, or have they got are they dangerous with many forwards?
I would say, in terms of like I was mentioning before, in terms of this squad feel over individualistic players, the reason that they do so well is because, again, this sounds stupid, it's almost because they don't have that out and out talisman. You look to Eriksen as the man who's going to be the one controlling the game, when it's not really true. Højbjerg and Delaney, I think, are two excellent midfielders they're not as attacking by any means, without a doubt, but this squad, like I say, they interconnect so well that they don't look to someone like Eriksson to do that forwards play. They have Mikkel Damsgaard of Sampdoria, who is an unbelievable player on his day, and he scored quite a few goals for Denmark in recent times after breaking through into it. And it's like their attack. I would say I put down sort of the danger man that I think Finland will have to face is Jonas Vind, I think it's pronounced, of Copenhagen. He scored 15 goals in 28 games for them this season, and he is just a monster when he plays for Denmark. There's a lot of he's only 22 years old. When he plays, he usually scores. That's how it goes with him playing. He's not played loads within the last year, but every game that he's played, he's either assisted, scored, or at the very least left his mark on the match. So it's these sort of, this is what I mean in terms of their squad. They don't have an out-and-out player who's definitely going to score on goals. You'd think it'd be Braithwaite or Poulsen. But the fact is it'll probably be one of the wider players like Vind or like Damsgaard or Steg or the countless other good attackers that they have. Which, and even their wing backs, Vass, he gets up the field so fast that, and he's often involved. That you wouldn't, to pin down one player in the Denmark squad or to pin two players to one again it might work if it's the correct player on the day. If you pin down the wrong player, you're left with a man overlap somewhere else, and they are, like I said, they are so good at that transitional play that breaking through a side would be no problem for them. But yeah, if like you said, the attacking parts of your wings are the good part of your wing backs, then that is where I would probably focus if I was the Finnish squad, because that is where they end up being sort of left open wide a lot. A lot of their players come centrally. A lot of them, like I said, throw themselves into the box, and so there is space out there. So that's where I would go if I was the Finnish manager on the day.
That's quite interesting what you said there, Cameron, about, because we've had that feeling ourselves recently watching Finland, that the team is bigger than the sum of its parts, like after donkey's years of having teams centered around the great Jari Litmanen, and 10 other blokes. All of a sudden we've got a team and a squad that seems that, obviously the obvious one is Teemu Pukki. He's been banging goals in England in the Championship. So if there is a talismanic player, you probably look to Teemu Pukki. But the team and squad are generally bigger than the sum of their parts, and we've sort of traded on that ourselves recently. So that's an interesting point what you say there about the Denmark side. So certainly will has the makings of an interesting match.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to that one in terms of the first few group games, and obviously even the Russia game. They're all very. When I look at the group in general, they're all very similar teams. Russia don't. I couldn't, off the top of my head, name a couple of world-class Russian players who are going to run the game, as if Belgium are almost the opposite. They have too many world-class players, so you can't look at one who's going to control it. So it's an interesting group in terms of who will be the players who do stand up for the individual teams and who will be the ones who come through, really.
Very good. I'm not particularly reassured by what you said, Cameron, but I am kind of excited about it. I'm looking a bit. Obviously, we were all excited anyway, but now this is good to get someone there that actually sort of knows these teams a little bit and gives us something to look out for. And then, after the game, we can all get together and talk about you behind your back and see if you knew what you were talking about.